Oh yeah, it's the 90s. Master of Orion 2. It's a 4X turn-based strategy game in space. It was developed by Simtex in 1996, as you can tell by the beautiful pixel graphics, and published by Microprose on the PC. As a side note, Microprose published a lot of my favorite games as a child, like XCOM, Majesty, Mech Commander, and Mech Warrior 3. And now that I've grown as a man-child, they've published some of my recent favorites like High Fleets and Carrier Command 2. If I could describe this game in one sentence, it'd be something like, just one more turn, addiction feeder. Master of Orion 2 gives you the option to play as you like. If you want to do something more casual, like doing a few turns and designing a new ship or whatever, you can do that. Or you could hyper-optimize and min-max your population for the optimal turn efficiency and reach endgame technology within a few turns of the game. Either way you like it, they've streamlined the process pretty well at the stage for 4X games. Personally, I love this game. I even got the strategy guide for this game that came out back in 1996. There's some rough illustrations of some of the races sprinkled around the book, which I like to find. Surprisingly, the book also has some solid advice like using creative races and focusing on research, playing a small galaxy to avoid early conflicts, and the advice about difficult games being difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, they still have some solid niche advice like what color to look for in a solar system before colonizing a new planet, or luring Antarians into an isolated system to avoid them altogether. But, well, let's just get into it. So, the story. It's a 4X game and nobody cares about the story, so I'll make it quick. Long time ago, Anthrax and Onions fought each other. Onions won and banished the Anthrax to the Shadow Realm. Then, like all good ancient civilizations, the Onions vanished, while the ancient evil awakens. Gameplay. To start, you click New Game, pick some easy options, they don't really matter, just pick the ones I picked here. Now, pick an alien you want to be. White male, furries, bara furries, scalies, boomerang, and women. And if you can't decide, just pick whatever looks cool and go. Name your guy, what color, and begin. Welcome to the Galactic Control Interface. Yeah, it's actually called that. It's beautiful with the usual 90s hand-drawn pixel graphics you might expect from the era. In addition, depending on your map size, the graphics also change based on how big the universe needs to show. Zooming in? No, you just see all of it. Always. On the right side, there are helpful tabs of information on running the empire, like money, command points, food, freighters, and research. They're all pretty self-explanatory except for the command points, which we'll get into later. On the bottom, there's some stuff you can do to run your empire, respectively. Colonies, where you can quickly manage all of your colonies. Planets, to search for the perfect planet to colonize, which is pretty much anything that isn't already colonized. Fleets, which will go over all of your fleets, and the only place where you could turn a giant spaceship into big ones. Leaders tab, where your mercenaries will be. They are tremendously helpful. They don't actually do anything other than add pretty nice bonuses to both your colonies and your spaceships. They appear randomly, and you just kind of buy them off when they're on the market. Don't worry too much about whether or not the AI will pick them up. They'll stay around for a couple of days, and make sure you just pick them up before they leave. The Races tab, which has all the other playing races and the players, and your interactions with them. And the Info tab, which you can use to take a look at your empire very quickly, what racial traits you have if you forgot about it. What I use it the most is to check what race I am, because usually I just forget what the hell I'm called. So the gameplay, there's basically only 3 things you gotta do. Research, colony management, and then pretty much everything else. When choosing to do anything, remember the 3 rules of descending importance. 1. Research. 2. Research. And 3. Everything else. Research will literally mean the difference between living on a comfy, Earth-like environment with nice things like grass and trees and oxygen versus living on lava. With enough research, you can literally build a Doomstar with perfectly accurate beam weapons that will kill anything on sight. Oh, and did you know that consecutive research of the same field yields better improvements of the same tech? As a child, I definitely did. So let me explain. Here's a normal nuclear missile. It has a payload of 1.2 megatons of TNT. You would think that's pretty good at killing stuff in space, right? Nope. The basic nuclear missile is hot garbage. It does little damage and costs way too much for basically doing nothing. So you research chemistry just 2 more times, which is the same field of study as missiles. Once you do, you will be able to unlock the MERV upgrade for the nuclear missile. What does the MERV stand for? I have no idea. It just says MV. But all that you need to know is that it could be used to pretty much kill anything for the next 30% of the game. So, follow me so far? No? That's fine. I didn't really either when I first started. Just copy paste my research path, take a screenshot or write it on a paper napkin, do whatever you want. Now, going back to MERV missiles, why should you even care? Well, do you see that nice, luxurious planet with lush resources? It's actually guarded by a literal space monster. For no reason, he's just hanging out there. But more importantly, he's in the way and will kill any of your colony ships that tries to take over the planet. Trying to take it over with the starting ships and the starting technology weapons that you have, it's going to take you a long time. Not only will you spend most of your turns churning out shitty ships, those ships once they get there will probably get just one shot by the space monster and blow up. But that's where the MERV missiles come in. Maybe 6 to 5 ships of these guys can pretty much kill most space monsters and be able to colonize a nice planet just for you. So, where was I going with this? Right, research. Prioritize research, and you'll pretty much win the game. Just be able to pick the right ones at the right times, and you'll only get the hang of it over time. Once you do, you'll be able to kill pretty much all the EV AI and be able to increase your difficulty setting. Now, you might be asking, how do I get research? That's where the colonies come in. The colonies. This brings me to the next most important gameplay aspect, which is colony management. Colony management is where you manage all of your colonies and what they do. In the beginning, it'll be just 1 or 2, but later on it'll be So how do you micromanage your colonies and breathe down your intern's necks? To manage a specific colony, you go to the colonies tab at the bottom and select it, or by clicking on the actual star in the space map. Here's your homeworld. It's beautiful, spacious, and very productive. Let me explain what the top stuff does. This is your taxes, where your crypto miners mine Bitcoin for you, denominated appropriately as BC, morale. It's the morale of your interns. It's a direct multiplier of your workforce, so it's actually a pretty good idea to keep it as high as possible. So, for example, a 20% positive morale or 10 productivity means 12 productivity, and vice versa. So if you have negative 20% morale, 10 productivity actually ends up being only 8. Food. So this is how you feed your interns. As with any galaxy-spanning empire, the only choice of possible food to feed everybody is corn. Thankfully, literally everybody eats corn, except for some wrong people. So you don't really have to micromanage what kind of crop you grow. You just grow it. Any excess corn you produce is sold out to the corn market for half its value in Bitcoin. So in other words, it kinda sucks. Don't do it. Just feed as much as you need to reach a positive increase and keep it that way. Super extra amounts of corn won't really help you grow your colony any faster. Production. Do you know what the denominator for production is? That's right, PP. I'm serious. PP is how you'll make it. Production is how you'll literally make anything in this colony. It's very important, but of course it's not as important as research. Research is pretty much where you put everybody else that is not actively growing or producing anything. Okay, so that's how you manage your people. In the middle, you'll see a lot of pretty pixel illustrations of buildings and whatever they are. You can click on the pretty buildings and sell them for half its value in Bitcoin, but it's usually a bad idea unless you're really short on cash or you're trying to reduce the maintenance cost of the empire, but it's usually a good idea to just raise taxes. Even if you're upgrading your old buildings to new ones with better technology, it's still a good idea to keep them around as they help reduce the new building's cost. Here, for example, I'm upgrading my battle station, a flying defense station that enemies need to fight before being able to colonize your planet. If I want to upgrade my battle station to a better one, which is called a Star Fortress, it originally cost the Star Fortress 1,500 PP. If I were to sell my battle station, it will change the cost of the new Star Fortress to 2,500 PP, a 1,000 increase for the exchange of 500 BC. A bad exchange. Some other stuff that you'll not really look at too much is the Marines at the bottom left corner. They keep the population in line when it's not in danger, and when it's in danger, they conscript the colonists to be meat shields to die for the Marines. And on the bottom right, you'll have a picture of the leader that's leading the colony, if you have one. Two notes, they not only manage this single colony, but every other colony that's in the solar system. That's right, they don't just do it for one planet, they do it for the entire solar system. So it's usually a good idea to put a leader somewhere that has a maximum value rather than just based on per colony. On the top left, you'll see the rest of the planets within the solar system. For the next part, I'm just going to talk about what I usually do to start off any race in the game. For every race that I start off with, it's always optimal. There's an optimal kind of research path that you can take. You almost want to always get research labs and auto factories. Then build MIRV missiles to start taking good colonies and kill any hostile neighbors, which is everybody. The reason why you want to get research labs and auto factories is because they will always produce 5 research or 5 production for each colony that you have, even without citizens. It is really helpful to have that 5+ boost to every single colony you could have and get that colony really off the ground before being able to be self-sustaining and start producing and researching on its own. Later on, when you have researched a lot of stuff and it's too much to micromanage, you can literally just have the game auto-build the colonies for you by going into the Build tab of the colony. So the Build tab. The Build tab has a bunch of stuff that you can start building, like spaceships, different buildings and upgrades for the colony itself, and also some interesting other productive things you can make. Usually your first priority should be to build a colony base with that production, but you'll want to first research the research labs and auto factories as soon as possible. So just put everybody into research and take them off of production. So after you start putting in your list of stuff to do, which will be first the colony base, then a freighter ship, because sometimes you have to feed the colonists that's on other planets because colonists don't automatically produce food. That's right. Just because you have a colony on a planet doesn't mean they know how to grow corn there. Like on lava, for example. As I mentioned before, buildings have an upkeep cost for a few Bitcoin, which is why being frugal and being selective in your buildings is a good idea. Otherwise, your maintenance costs will start to override the amount of taxes you can produce, and you'll be into financial ruin. After understanding research and colony micromanagement, everything is pretty much set. Now, there are only 2 kinds of players in Master of Orion: creative and normal. You can exclude the subhuman uncreative as a non-choice. When a creative race researches something, they don't choose, they just get all the tech available in that research tree. When a normal race researches a tech tree, they can only pick one of the choices that's presented, not all of them. Does that seem fair? Absolutely. Because for the price of being a creative, you could have gotten a much better custom race options like lithivores that eat rocks, and corn is no longer an issue. Or a subterranean that live in the basement of their mother's house and doubles the population a colony can hold. Choosing your first few races is a pretty important choice, and I recommend actually playing a creative just only for the first few games, like just to get the handle of it. Then try a normal race. You'll soon realize that a creative ironically limits your creativity in how you'll be playing your style in a creative way. Playing a creative race helps you basically not really think and learn the research tree and allows you more time to focus on other parts of the game, like doing spaceships and space colony micromanagement, so you don't really have to worry about which research tree you really want to pick up. After you've played a creative race and gotten familiar with other aspects of the game, then try playing as a normal race without being a creative. It'll help you start learning the research tree and the different tech sets available to you. In the beginning, honestly, it's pretty overwhelming. Like, how the hell do you know which tech is useful or not? Well, that's the fun part. You don't. You take a gamble on hoping that a tech will pay off immediately or somewhere down the line. Now, I'll have to address the other conflicting part, which is playing a normal race. You sometimes just end up picking the same tech over and over no matter which race you're playing because it's just so optimal. It's not all the time, but there's a few clear, obvious choices you have to take, like research labs and auto factors. There's absolutely no way you wouldn't not take those. Like here, research labs will forever give your colonies free 5 research points when it's built, which is equal to 1.5 colonists, and a +1 bonus, which is a 33% increase to your researchers. And then on the flip side, as opposed to getting research labs, you would research a computer that gives 50% bonus to hit with a beam weapon. Now, you wouldn't even be using beam weapons for the next 30 turns because there's nothing to fight, A, and B, you will have to spend your production in your colonist turns building a spaceship with beam weapons, rather than just a Murph missile, which is far superior at the beginning. And then the second part is auto factors, which generate free production again forever for all of your colonies, and gives another 33% bonus to your productive worker over heavy armor, which again sounds pretty nice on paper until you realize it's obsolete by Nether Research Tree a little bit down the road. Free production and free research is never obsolete. It's always useful throughout the entire game. In light of this, the choices end up pretty much the same every time. Lastly, space combats. According to Master of Orion 2, space is two-dimensional, and everybody is patiently waiting to take turns to shoot at each other. I'll go over some tactics on how to use MIRV missiles. So, in the beginning, once you research MIRV missiles, this will be like maybe your third and fourth research goal, you'll want to shoot them and just basically turn around by clicking right-click away from the ship, either above or below, then choosing any space in front of the spaceship to be able to run away. The reason why you want to run away is because distance actually affects how well your enemies can shoot at you. You're waiting because your missiles literally have to fly across space and reach the target to blow it up. After you go deep into research and start getting beams, boarding pods, and other tech beyond MIRV missiles, you kind of just auto-fight the whole thing. You might be wondering, wait, what about diplomacy? Correct, that's the part I left out because that's the part where I spend the least amount of time. In easier difficulties, you can interact with your neighbors and be very nice and set up trade treaties and research treaties to have a net positive return on your investment as well as relationships with your neighbors. However, what happens after hard difficulty? Well, AI never talks to you, nor will any kind of trade, except for your research. For free, of course. So the best option is to build a wall of spies to counteract all of their sabotage, and ignore their Skype calls while you send 20 Death Stars to their homeworld. Summary. In summary, what I like the best about Master of Orion 2 is its simplicity. The technical complexities of some modern games get in the way of enjoying what you actually just enjoy. Maybe you just enjoy painting the map in your color or, designing your own spaceships and flying around and role-playing as whatever. Master of Orion 2 is perfect at doing that. It just does exactly what you want to do in a very basic form. I come back to Master of Orion 2 every few years when I get tired of the added complexities that modern games added. I'm not saying I wouldn't play modern games, they're great. But sometimes you just want to go back to the roots and play an old-fashioned 90s game. You can get Master of Orion 2 from GOG.com. It runs perfectly fine on modern machines, in the link below. By the way, it's bundled together with Master of Orion 1, so don't be confused. By the way, it's also free to play on a website
Yeah, it runs perfectly fine. You could even save progress on it. I'll add the link in the description below. If I missed anything, write a comment and let me know. And if you have any suggestions on the games you want me to review, let me know too. As always, thank you. Next time, thinking about reviewing a couple of Necromancer games since I haven't seen a whole lot of other reviews about those. I'll be focusing one video entirely on strategic Necromancer games, while another one on single RPG person Necromancer games. Until then.
Divert full power to shield.